What's up? What's up, everybody? Good morning. I'm out here by the beach. Of running out here, especially this exact time of year when you wake up in the morning and it's a crisp, like mid 60s, early 70s type of temperature. And then when you run, this is perfect run weather. Like if I was just walking around in this weather, it might be a little bit different, but running the way that your body, it feels like it doesn't even feel like the temperature that it is. And I love getting up before I start working to get the run in, because in the mornings, I always say this, even though I'm not a morning person, I wish I was. There was a day and time when I used to get up and finish up my workout at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 days a week. But that was a force to get up, just like I forced myself to get up for work, forced myself to get up for the run. So I kind of forced myself to get up today, but if anyone knows anything about me, it's that once you see me reach about late August to early September, you're always going to see me doing the most when it comes to fitness. And the reason why is because I always work towards becoming my best self, definitely from a physical standpoint. I mean, on all aspects, of course, physically, mentally, emotionally, all that good stuff, spiritually, but particularly from a fitness standpoint, right? Give me 1 second. I just have to. If there's anybody, just gotta double check on something. Okay, I got something to do, but I can do it a little bit later. Yeah, so anyways, I'm sorry about that. So I finished my run. This is my second one of the month. And I think that I probably am going to be doing about 4 runs a week. But I started late just due to Labor Day and just due to, being off and being lazy, because you do need those days sometimes. But good morning, Colleen. I don't know how you get up so early. Or maybe you didn't go to bed. I don't know. One or the other. But yeah, so positivity is a choice. That's a topic that I have on here. And a lot of things that I tell people about, or things that people see me experience in a day, they tell me, oh, that couldn't have been me, because if I was in that situation, I would have done, insert whatever it is that you would have done there. And I think to myself, I could do what you do. They tell me it's hard to be me in terms of like not reacting to certain things a certain way. And for me, that's easy, because a lot of people just don't know the life that I lived before. They don't know how I grew up. They don't know how I was. I used to react to everything. If you told me something, if you cursed me out, I'm cursing you out right back. If you say something to me that I don't like, I'm going to return the sender. If you do something to me that is malicious, I'm going to do that thing right back. That's always the way that I lived. I lived that way growing up, as a kid, as a teenager, and even into my 20s. The reason why I stopped living that way is because of the ramifications of living that way. There's multiple different ramifications that you could have. Number one, your own anxiety. I mean, everyone knows I have an anxiety disorder. So when I let things get me really hopped up all the time, constantly, it has effects on me physically, and it has effects on me mentally. In other words, it sits with me. So somebody does something and says something, I get riled up, I respond a certain way. It's not over for me. The situation might be over because we move apart from each other, we move away from each other, and we go about our day, but it sits with me throughout the day. 2-hour nap, woke up hungry, had some eggs, I'll go back to sleep in a bit. So that was one thing. Another thing is, there were situations where I wished that I could take my words back. That was a characteristic of most of my friendships and relationships, where I would get really mad in the moment, and then I would say something in the moment based on how I felt right then. And then I would sit and I would think about it later, and I would be like, I wish I could take that back, because that's not something that I meant to say, or even to say it, I wish that it didn't come out that way, or that was something that was more appropriate for a sit down conversation. So it cost me in that sense. It cost me friendships, it cost me relationships, it cost me. The next thing is, it cost me jobs, because I had reactions on the job. And that might sound funny, because I always talk about different things that I say on the job, but I think about those things now before I say them. I don't react immediately, because I learned from therapy that my best way to cope with certain things like that is to separate myself from the situation before I give a response. Because trust me, when I say things now, I'm sure of them when I say them. And it's funny, because sometimes people think, I've had somebody come back to me after I say something nowadays and tell me, oh, well, I know that was in the heat of the moment, you didn't really mean that. I'm like, no, I meant it. I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but I'm saying that because it's rare. It's not impossible, because I am human, but it is rare that you'll ever catch me in a situation now where I will tell somebody something that I didn't think about beforehand and decide that I was going to say that. It does take away my plausible deniability, because if I were to ever tell somebody I didn't mean that, they're not going to believe me, nor should they, because I did mean it. I meant it. I said it on purpose. I thought about it before I said it. I knew what I was saying, and that's just what I wanted to say, because that's how I felt. Doesn't mean that it's always right, no, but it at least eliminates the part of having a regret of saying something that you did not mean. Now, back to that statement of you're better than me. We're wired different, I'll give you that. But we all have the opportunity to think and react. It's not some special innate thing inside of me. For some people, yes. I know that there's people that are just naturally patient, but even those people who are naturally patient and just naturally kind, like those people that you're like, this person doesn't have a mean streak, this person doesn't have a mean bone in their body. There are people like that, but they do have a mean streak. It's just that it's not their first reaction. Like something negative happens to somebody, and if you heard the string of conscious thoughts that go through their head, you would be like surprised for certain people. And I can say that because I know certain people. I know people like that, and they confide in me. And when I hear them speaking to me in an unfiltered way, it's a way that most people don't hear them speak. That's another thing actually that I have learned how to do, is to lean on people who are trustworthy and level-headed, so that you can just speak freely in a moment of anger. So you have the moment, but you have somebody where you could say, I feel like this, I hate this person, I feel this way, I didn't like this, whatever, an unfiltered version of what you want to say to whoever, to that person, because you know that it's not going anywhere. And then you know that that person can provide you with some level-headed advice, like, yeah, you need to say something and this is how I would say it, or no, this is not something that you're justified in, you're wrong here, whatever the case may be. But it's easy to be negative because, what do they say, 80%? They give different percentages, but the ones that I've heard the most is that 80% of our subconscious thoughts are negative. Meaning that if you were just sitting around, you weren't intentionally thinking of anything, your mind would just wander towards some kind of negative thinking. So when things happen, the easiest thing to do is to respond negatively. And I remember there were times in my life, like I was saying earlier on, where I wasn't the better than me, you're better than me person. My dad always taught me, think before you speak. The funny thing is, your dad taught you, that's good that your dad taught you think before you speak. That's not why I'm laughing, because I was thinking about my dad. My dad did not think before he spoke. He would just speak. And something that my grandma told me is some people teach you by, this guy doesn't want me to turn. Some people teach you by what they tell you, and some people teach you by what they show you. And I don't mean show you in a sense of lead by example. I mean, some people teach you what not to do. And my dad, rest in peace, but my dad, he was somebody who always spoke immediately. He spoke out of anger, he spoke out of turn. He was the guy who didn't think before he spoke, and that cost him a lot of things in life. One of them was several years worth of relationship with me. Fortunately, we were able to patch things up later on before he went, because I'm so grateful for that fact. Not really in a sense of talking through those old moments, but just with caretaking for him, I had the opportunity to have a different and better relationship with him than any time before. But I just remember he was somebody who always, in his prime years, he always spoke out of anger, and he would hear something, it would trigger him, and he would yell, or he would just speak or respond immediately, and then he would end up saying things that cannot be taken back. And I remember some of those things were said to me, and I remember some of those things actually, and they were hurtful things. And then I remember him coming back way later and revisiting it after things got fractured from what he said, and then trying to patch it up. It was never really an I'm sorry. It was just like, he was I'm gonna do this for you to show you that I'm sorry, or I'm gonna take you to this basketball game so that you'll forget about the thing that I said. He was that type of person, and I have not wanted to be like, that's not the type of person that I want to be. Like, want to be somebody who is sure about the things that I say, that means the things that I say, and don't end up losing things just because of a moment of emotion, because everybody has them. And if you're listening to what I'm saying, I'm not telling anyone they have to be able to just control the emotion or suppress the emotion. You just have to be able to learn when and how to deliver the things that you want to say. Yeah, my dad did not pick his... Everything was a battle for my dad. And somehow he forged his way through life. I mean, I gotta give him that. He forged his way through life, you know. He did a lot of great things in his life. You know, he got married. He had 2 kids. He worked some amazing jobs. He worked at the UN. He was the treasurer of several different church conferences. You know, he did a lot. He traveled all over the place. He did a lot of things in his life despite his temper. But I would say that there were also unnecessary complications in his life due to that temper. And the people who say you're better than me, if you look at the lives that they live versus the life that I live, my life is not really an unnecessarily difficult life. Life itself is difficult. You know, like, living is difficult. It is what it is, because we face so many different things in our lives. We got to deal with bills. We've got to deal with, you know, random things that happen throughout the day. We have to deal with work. Car breaking down. You know, there's just so many different things in an average person's life that we have to deal with that are hard. So why add unnecessary complications to that? And also, I didn't even talk about the physical part of it. Being angry all the time has physical impacts on you too, not just mental ones, in terms of like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you know. I like to think about controlling the things that I do have control over, and that's one of them. Like, if somebody, I don't know, like if somebody steps on my shoe, I know that's a very basic example, but I could punch them in the face for stepping on my shoe. But what's gonna happen if I punch them in the face? I don't know. Maybe I knock them out and walk away. Maybe that's best case scenario. I knock them out and then I walk away, and nothing happens to me from there. Cool. They still stepped on my shoe. It doesn't really make a difference. My shoe is still scuffed. No matter what happened with me knocking them out. It probably felt good in the moment, but typically, especially in this day and age, there's cameras everywhere. The person could be like, oh, I'm going to press charges. So them stepping on your shoe could be an accident. You punching them in the face was no accident. So now you face some kind of court, legal repercussions for something that, I mean, I'm not saying don't say anything, but I'm saying, like, your reaction was not proportionate to what happened to you, and you're going to be the one who faces the punishment versus the person who antagonized you, whether it was intentional or whether it was unintentional. His personality is probably what made him good at the things he did and made him a high achiever in those things. Having a family, you know what? His personality Okay, his personality brought him things in life, or I should say, he earned things in life. I'm not gonna say brought him because that makes it sound like he was just given things without having the skills and the talent, right? He had the skills and the talent. He was very intelligent, and his personality traits did lead him to those high positions and helped him through those high pressure situations. Um, on my end, I lived with him for the majority of my life. Out of 34 years of my life that he was alive, 34 years, I believe. Yeah. I lived with him for probably minus 8, probably like 26 years out of my 34 years at that time of life. 26 years that I lived with my dad. Actually, you could take away 1 year from when he was in his hospice care. 25 years out of 34 years. That's a lot. Like, that's, more than 2/3 of my life. And I saw how behind closed doors he was just really unhappy. And he was always going through turmoil. He was always going through conflict. And it was like in the work setting, yeah, those qualities helped him. And those qualities help most people that are in those boss positions, because you have to be somebody who, maybe I don't want to say have to because I just have a different philosophy, but I'll just say most people that you see historically in those high level positions, um, they're able to ream people out, and they can have those angry emotional reactions in the moment. He could do what he does. He could do what he did in the type of positions that he was in life. I couldn't do what he did, and succeed in the things that I'm doing in life. It's impossible because his work was administrative work for the most part. Like, obviously early on. Good morning, Lisa, by the way. Obviously, early on, he did things that were, starter jobs. But I mean, like, once he got his career on, and once he got his CPA, and once he got his MBA and all that kind of stuff, he was in administrative positions where you are more behind the scenes at the table, and you get into those heated discussions, and you're yelling and they're yelling, and you can be angry, and you can still accomplish what you need to accomplish from a job standpoint. But then when you're in a position like mine, where you're dealing with especially a mental health population, and an unstable one at that, and then you're dealing with coworkers and management who arguably, in any of these mental health positions that I've been in, whether it's because of the job or whether it's the job contributes to it, they have their own issues going on as well that you can clearly see. I mean, everybody has issues, but shoot, I'm telling you, mental health workers, I work different fields, and this one is different across the board. So yeah, it's like, you're right that his personality and character traits benefited him in the things that he had going on for his life, and they wouldn't benefit me for the things that I do with my life. I wouldn't be able to be in the type of positions that I am in and do the things that I'm doing with his temperament. That's just a fact. And I would arguably, it's a hard one, because I think to myself, financially, that's what he always had. He always had a job that paid him well, and he always had a position that was really high up within whatever organization that he was in, like top 3, top 5 paid in the organization. So those were things that did allow and afford him to be able to do a lot of things in life. He was always traveling, and he always had nice things, nice clothes, and nice cars, and he was able to go all around the world and do all these different things. Um, how happy that made him, I think that the happiness that it gave him was always a temporary thing, because he was always searching for something else. The things that, if you saw the things that he had and did in his life, you would look at those things and be like, man, I wish that was my life, honestly. But if you were ever to talk to him and ask him how happy he was about those things, it was like, I need more. This is not enough. I need to achieve, I need to acquire something else. I shouldn't say achieve, because then it just makes it sound like goal getter. And that, that was a part of it. That was a part of it, that he was a goal getter. But there was also this internal strife where it was like, I'm never happy with anything. I always need something else, or something more, something bigger, or something better. And there was always that kind of unrest. So I guess what I'm saying is also shaped from seeing the results of living a life that is the opposite of this peaceful one that I live. I take the energy around me, but I don't intake the energy around me, because there's more people that are angry than not. There's more people that are quick to react than not. There's more you're better than me people than not. And what I would have done in this situation, I would have done this, or I would have done that. So I find it to be a skill, really, to be able to have those things around you, have those people around you, but not to absorb their energy. Like, even though I am experiencing this, witnessing this, seeing this all the time, I'm not going to take that and intake it and now exude that out and put that out into the world, because there's enough of those people. Be different. Be somebody who's different. Be somebody who is better than those that you see around you. We're talking about dad, sort of, and about temper. Yeah. Colleen was saying that her dad taught her to, I guess, think before you speak. And I was saying how my dad taught me through the example of not thinking before he spoke. He taught me through showing me what can happen when you speak first and you think second. And I took that from him, actually. Like, I think that I'm proof that you can take something that you learned, that you saw. Because sometimes people are like, 7:12. Time just goes so fast. Sometimes people are like, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it, because that's just the way that I was raised. That's just what I know. No, there's always something that you can do about it. There's always something that you can change. You don't have to be what you saw growing up, and you don't have to be what you experienced around you. You can always choose to be different. Now, I'm not saying that that's easy, because when I tell you this, think about what I was saying earlier. Even though there was only a couple of people on here, but think about what I was saying earlier, if you're watching this on the replay especially. I'm telling you, this is how I was from 1 to 10, from 11 to 20. This only changed when I was about close to 30. I was probably almost 30 already by the time that this changed, because that was a point where I was just like, I actually remember a turning point. I remember talking about this on another one of my lives when I was in school. And I remember I had a really, really, really super close friend. Like this is like practically a sister to me, how close this friend was. We would hang out all the time. We were taking the same classes. We graduated in the same year. We talk every day. When we were on campus, we would see each other every day. You know, this is one of the closest friends that I ever had, especially in my adult life. Like one of my closest friends that I ever had in adult life. And there was something that happened with our friendship, and I had a reaction to that. And in this particular case, I was like 2000% in the wrong. I mean, it was something that I had a right to feel hurt about, but it was not something that they did to hurt me. It was just something that happened to happen, and it was something that hurt. And I had a reaction to them, and I took that out on them. And my reaction was vicious. Because I'm telling you, that's how I used to be. My reaction was so vicious. You know, I'm going to make this person hurt 10 times more hurt than I feel right now. And that's what I tried to do. And I said some things that were just, in my opinion, they were just deplorable, like, even to this day. I mean, it's over now, like, but thinking back, I'm like, shoot, there's a few things that I can specifically remember that I wish I could take back in life. And those couple of conversations that I had with that particular friend was one of them. And I remember in the moment when I said those things, it felt wonderful, not gonna lie. It felt like anger is like a drug. Seriously. So I said those things and I was like, bang, I got her. She must feel like dirt right now. And I felt happy for about a day or two until I revisited the whole thing in my head. And I was like, okay, what happened here? Was this justified? Was what I said justified? Was this deserved? Did this person deserve what I said to them? And the answer, when the anger cooled off and I was able to just objectively look at everything, I was like, they didn't actually do that to hurt me. Nor did they even really do anything wrong. It was just immaturity on my end that made me angry about that situation. And it was also immaturity that made me have that reaction to that person. So I remember feeling really bad and really sheepish about it. I'm like, I lost a friend. And this is unnecessary. I didn't have to lose this friend. And I remember coming back to her 2 to 3 months later. And I was like, the sorry is not enough for the things that I said to you. And I hate the fact that I ruined what was such a really great friendship. And I hope that you are able to find it in your heart to forgive me. I haven't had to do that in a long time, honestly. Not saying that I haven't had to apologize for anything, because shoot, in this profession, you have to apologize all the time, even for things that are sometimes not even your fault. But but I mean, like, that really deep apology where you know that you have wronged somebody really bad with the things that you said, and you're just sheepishly coming to them hoping for forgiveness. And I thought that the response was going to be like as vicious as what I said. But the response was actually more like, you know, what you said was hurtful. But I was never mad at you. I understood why you were upset. I wish you had expressed it differently. And My only thing that I feel upset about is that you didn't come and talk to me sooner. And that person forgave me. And for that time period, we reset our friendship. I miss her, actually. I miss that person. Life just kind of drifted us apart. It was not even. But after that, we were super good, even better than before. But after that particular fight that I had with that particular person, I remember a life where it was either I was giving those kind of apologies every single month to different people around me in life, or I was just saying whatever I had to say and then cutting that person off because my pride would not allow me to give the apology. So I lost some great people because of not being willing to put my pride aside, and because of not being able to put my pride aside and come back and revisit it. But the best thing is not even having to do that, not even putting yourself in that position. We all get heated, we all have our moments. So I'm not saying that I've never been angry at anybody since then, or I've never spoken out of pocket to anybody since then. It honestly, it doesn't happen very much in my life, but I'm not gonna say it never happens. But I can say that for the most part, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. And so all these things that I tell people where they're like, it couldn't be me, when I'm in the moment, it could be me. It's not a natural thing for me not to react to people doing BS and saying BS things to me. It's not a natural reaction for me to ignore it, or for me to take the high road, or for me to, in some cases, be kind to people who have not been kind to me. It's not a natural thing for me to do that. It's a choice. I choose to do that because I don't like having to be a person who is easily triggered and can be triggered out of things where I lose something. Sometimes another person will be talking to you. That's another thing. That's another topic too. Sometimes a person will be talking to you and have nothing to lose, and you have everything to lose. Both my parents came from broken families, so they decided to change that pattern. You can change the pattern. I think my parents are actually married either the same amount of time or 1 year more or less, but it was between 43 and 45 years. I can't remember the exact number. It is tough but rewarding conversations. Yeah, you do have to have two. I don't know if you're talking about the friend that I was referring to, but yeah, the conversation that I had with her was definitely tough, but it did so much for me. Like, especially, it was an ideal circumstance to be forgiven. So not everyone gets the luxury of doing or saying crazy things to people. And then having someone say, I forgive you. But being forgiven in that circumstance taught me a lot. And changed me as a person, because I was like, what if she hadn't forgiven me? Because I watched an episode. I used to love the show Ayanla Fix My Life. That used to be my show. And I remember one early episode of the show, there was this guy, I think he had like 5 baby mamas, and I want to say maybe 18 kids or something crazy like that. And I remember one of the exercises that Ayanla did with him. Well, one of the things that she had him do was to sit all of those 18 kids in one room and ask for their forgiveness. And so he got all the kids in the room and he asked for their forgiveness. And some of them were like, oh my God, Dad, I've been waiting for these words my whole life. I love you, and I'm ready to repair the relationship and fix the relationship that has been so damaged all these years. And other ones were like, come on, bruh. You haven't been here 18 years, 20 years, and you're just coming and you're trying to do this now? Please. We're never going to have a relationship, and I never want to speak with you. And I remember him being angry, like he walked away. And he was angry at Ayanla, and he was like, see, why did you make me do this? Why did you make me do this? Like, look at the results of me doing this, you know? This is a waste of time. Like, he got up and he left the room. And when he finally came back and they revisited it, she was like, yeah, you did what you were supposed to do on your end from here, which was to deliver the apology, but you can't control whether somebody receives and accepts that or not. And that's the truth of the matter. Like, when you hurt somebody and when you wrong somebody and you apologize to that person for that thing that you did, you can't control how they react. So my whole thing is to unnecessary things that we can do, because naturally everybody's gonna hurt somebody, even your closest people, even if it's unintentional. That's what I'm saying. Doing your best to control the things that you actually have control over, which is your mouth, your actions. You know, don't be the person who says the things that you regret all the time, and then you have to either lose somebody because of it, or you have to spend all this time trying to be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that. That's all I've got. Let's see, what time is it? 7:27. Yeah, I have work in 30 minutes. I'm a little annoyed right now because I went to pick something up from the mailbox and it wasn't there, and it says it's delivered. This is what I hate about these independent. I feel like free drivers have changed the game for the worst. Because when they used to have to be employees of Amazon or UPS or FedEx, it was a different game, because now you're responsible, you have a responsibility to the company, whereas as an independent contractor, you only have a responsibility to yourself. Like, I did Instacart, and I did well with Instacart only because I cared about my rating. Some people are like, I'm just trying to make a quick few $100 and that's it. So I'm not going to stay with Instacart. I'm just going to do this. And then if I happen to get booted off the app, there's all these other apps that I could do. I could do Uber Eats, I could do DoorDash, I could do regular Uber. What's the other one? Slipping me right now because I don't use those apps anymore. But yeah, there's so many different apps, and they're like, I don't work for a company. I mean, it is a company, but you know what I'm saying. It's like you're working for an app, so it's not really like you have a boss who's talking to you, and you have accountability meetings. Like when I was doing Instacart, I was lagging. I used to think that the location of where I did the Instacart would impact how much money that I get in tips. Boy, was I wrong. Because I remember I was going and delivering to these mansions, and these people were tipping me like $2. And some of these neighborhoods that were like my neighborhood, which is, it's not, I'm not going to say it's a poor neighborhood, but it's definitely, there's no mansion in my neighborhood, that's for sure. And those people would give me decent tips, $10, $15, $20 versus these $2 tip people in the mansion that wouldn't even come outside to say thank you. They would just look at me out the window while I'm leaving all the stuff at the doorstep, and then they would do the $2 tip on the app. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to these rich neighborhoods anymore because they are the least generous. I guess that's how they got rich. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. These people in situations immediately. I know as soon as 8 o'clock hits, it's just gonna be what it's gonna be. But all right, we will talk again soon. Yeah, rich man pro tip: keep all your money to yourself. The rich people are usually the cheap tippers. Yeah, for real. Oh, you found that in waitressing? Yeah, for real. Okay, talk to y'all later.